Oh, okay. It's good. It's good. I thought, no, that's some classical quote they need to know up somewhere. I thought. Okay. I guess so. I mean, are they ready back there?
Yeah, Sarah, are you ready? Ready.
Okay.
The Lord be with you. It is good to be with you all this morning. We are excited to start a new program year today, starting our Westminster Sunday School class off with Dr. J. Case teaching faith, film, and the American dream. If you are wondering why is the room so full, what's going on with the tables, we are getting ready for this evening's concert at 4 o'clock. The Canton Symphony Brass and organ, and I'm not sure what else there is. There's a whole bunch of fun stuff at 4 o'clock. Come back. Percussion, there you go, featuring Joe Oren on percussion. And then there's a reception in this room just following that. So they're getting ready for that. That's why we have this set up. But looking forward very much to this class. And we'll welcome those who are on YouTube joining us live or joining us after the fact. We are glad that you are all here. Let us pray before we start the class. Gracious God, we give you thanks for the gift of this day and this time together. We pray that you would be here in our midst and help us to grow in our faith, our understanding of you, and the life that we live, and how in it we see your hand at work in such ways as film. And help us be informed in this through this medium that we can see you more clearly. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Welcome. It's a 5-point series. This is a little bit different, probably in terms of topic. A class on film and faith. A little background to it. At Malone, we have a senior seminar. It's not located in the major, sort of a capstone class, but it's a general education class that every student has to take, called Faith in the World Seminar. And the way it works is there's a number of different classes, and every professor has a different topic that helps students think about, graduating and how do you live out your faith in the world. And so this topic, faith and film, started, I taught with a colleague, Andrew Rudd, for a number of years, and then he no longer taught, and I just kept going. He was the film studies guy. I learned a lot of stuff about film studies from him, and I was the history guy. So this is sort of history and film studies and faith. And how does that all work together? And I think the justification for this is that Christians spend a lot of time, all of us spend a lot of time engaged with mass media in different forms. Whatever, TV and actually books are mass media, the early forms of mass media. Movies and film and news and social media and the internet and so forth. But we have as Christians, I think we have comparatively little spent comparative little energy on thinking about the theology and spiritual disciplines related to mass media. And in some ways, our theology is still trying to catch up to the technological advances and changes that have taken place in the 20th century. There are some people doing some very good work out there, but we don't have centuries of experience to draw upon when we say film, for obvious reasons. The goal of this class is something very simple: to do two things better, be better at loving the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Now, how that works may take a while before it becomes apparent how that plays in, especially today when I'm going to have to lay a lot of groundwork for a number of things. And one more thing about the procedure here. In the Malone class I have, we come in, it's a seminar, we sit around in a circle, and I make everybody talk. And because there's a lot of discussion. It goes a lot better if there's a lot of discussion. I also make everybody watch a movie during the week. I can't make you do these things. I know you people. Plus, the structure we're in. I don't have a grade hanging over your head. But the more you are willing to speak, that is fine. And a lot of it, especially here at the beginning, is just going to be observations. I'm not going to be asking for insights or analysis of any great amount, especially at the beginning here, but just kind of what hits you, kind of thing. Now, I can't make you watch film, but I will say this. Next week, we're going to be talking about a popular film that a lot of people seem to enjoy. It's a Wonderful Life, which many of you have probably, how many of you have seen It's a Wonderful Life? Yeah, okay, look at that. Just about everybody has. I would recommend that you watch it again before next week, if you could. You can stream it on Prime Video if you're into streaming. If you want a DVD, Stark County Library, North Canton Library, they all have this film. But I would say watch it and maybe think a little bit about some of the things we talk about this morning. And then next week we're going to talk about it a bit more. And plus, if you watch it again, it'll be fresh in your minds. So to start off, though, because it is an odd kind of topic, I want us to think about how we were sort of socialized into thinking about movies or thinking about film when we were young, growing up. Think about your family or your church or your community. What was their attitude, primarily as Christians, towards film? And if you did not grow up in a Christian home, think about how your own family, what their attitude towards just movies in general. Or I'm going to use the term film in this class because film tends to, well, because I am. I'm not going to get into that. And I'm going to give you 5 options of, and for next week, this did not help. The other thing is there's a lot of technology that's involved in this class. There's a lot of technology anyway. I've got the speaker sound going on. We got things going on YouTube. I got a PowerPoint. Now I'm going to add some sort of film clips into this that we're going to show. I mean, it's kind of, a Christ Presbyterian equivalent of an Apollo moon mission, that we're putting all this stuff together. And so there might be a lot of failed attempts before we actually get to the moon. And so I can, while they're working on this, I can go ahead a little bit, and then we'll catch up. Unless I need to do something. Okay. Oh, there, that works. There it is. Okay, yes, there's the movie for next week, if you could watch that. Christian attitudes towards film. So I'm going to give you 5 options. Think about which one is most similar to the one that you received from your faith community when you were young and when you were growing up. First of all, there is avoidance. Part of this is the PowerPoint. I think it's just going to move on. Avoidance is don't watch movies. They're sinful. I mean, is the kind of the most basic way. There's some why, but there have been Christians who have felt like Hollywood and the whole film industry will lead people astray in their Christian faith. And so mostly just stay away from. This was more common in earlier eras than it is today. I think it is increasingly uncommon, but you still can find some people Christians who come from this. Second position, caution. You can watch movies, but you got to be very careful what you watch and how you watch. And you need to be sure that your faith is on a firm foundation so that movies don't lead you astray. Still some suspicion in there, and just be very, very careful in terms of what you watch. You might be very selective. Christians try to find out ahead of time if it has sinful or immoral things in it. This is more common, I've run into, there's students and people who say, I don't ever watch R-rated movies. and that is this because it has these sinful things in it. Third position is dialogue. You view a film, but you recognize this is a production from somebody else, and so you're going to be in kind of conversation with it in some way, either mentally yourself with it. Well, I agree with that, or I don't agree with that. Well, that's a good point, but I don't know about that. And maybe even talking with somebody else about this, and you're asking questions like, what is this film saying? What's it trying to get at? And then does that fit with my Christian beliefs or my theology or my experience? This moves a little more towards sort of thinking about film as the way we should approach a movie or a film is accept it has certain terms, accept it on its own terms first, and then are into dialogue. And starting in the 1960s, there were some Christian scholars and professors who began arguing that Christians need to do this more in this way. As one professor said, a scholar said, instead of returning to some sort of monologue in which theology would preach to cinema, or vice versa, both the discipline and the art must be allowed to speak their piece. That is, the goal must be dialogue. So a film is saying something, we're saying something as Christians, let's talk back and forth about what that is. Okay, fourth position, appropriation. Now we're getting into some real jargon here with this kind of word. You go in thinking a film might actually teach us something. Maybe it even has some wisdom and insight. Even if it is a secular film, it might have some wisdom and insight. And so it's not just in dialogue, but recognition, maybe there's some overlap between film and sort of theology and understanding truth and wisdom in the world in some particular sort of way. That there are some films that have some sort of perspective or insight into the human experience, especially from people who are different from us. And so the goal is not to come in with thinking morally, is this good or bad? Is it sinful aspects of it or not? The goal is actually to get greater insight in some way. As one editor from the Christian Century put it back in the 70s, a film can be said to be religious in the Christian sense if it celebrates humanity, or if it exercises with conviction a strong agony over moments where humanity is actually distorted. That's another perspective, that the process of the film gives us some sort of deeper sense of the human experience. And then we have divine encounter. Divine encounter starts with the film and focuses mostly on questions of aesthetics or beauty, or the whole approach of what is the film doing. That movies or films have, this is the belief that movies or films have this ability to transport us into some sort of connection with something that is transcendent, maybe even God. That's like you could encounter God through a secular movie in some way. More specifically, you have not just maybe new insights. Maybe God would be speaking to you through the movie, but maybe a new experience, a new sense, or deeper sense of how things work in the world. A lot of this comes from works with sacramental theology, which is more common, and I don't go into this with my students, but you're Presbyterian, so theology might interest you. Sacramental theology is more common in Catholic and high church sort of circles. And there's a lot could be said here, but part of this is that the way God works in the world one way that God works in the world. Much of it comes through material things in this world. Like, and for Catholic theology, starts with like bread and wine. You know, in the Eucharist, in communion, the material aspects are a way God, so there's this experience in communion where you encounter God in material elements. This is the hardest one for my students to understand and sort of really get, and maybe for you also. But we do know that God is always present. And if God is always present, then God can be connected in some way, maybe some mysterious way, to all kinds of things in the world. Not just nature, but part of his creation is what human beings create. And this gets then to questions about art. And that, you know, I mean, shoot, we believe in this church that God works through Bach and Vivaldi, which we're going to sing in the spring, and so forth. And that's a material sort of thing. Music is physical and material in some sort of way. But he can, as one commentator said, it was actually a Catholic theologian, God can use a film to disclose his presence, quote, even more sharply and decisively than in other areas of life. Like film can do something that other things in the world can't do. Just like music does something that other things in the world can't do. Now, this assumes that there's film that can actually be art. And you can look at least, I guess there's art. There are paintings that are just poor, and there's music that isn't real good, and there's poetry that's bland. And that can be true of film, but there's also film that can be that can be high art in some way. So this is more of predicated on looking at film in that sort of way. So you can put, let me go to this. You can put these on a continuum from avoidance all the way on one end to divine encounter on the other, because they also have sort of a range of how open you are to film and its ability to do something spiritual. From not at all to it can be very, very powerful. So, all right, now I'm gonna open up to you folks. Just anybody. No, let me do this first. Let me take a poll. My first sort of act. I'll take a poll. If you got which your growing up was, I'll take a poll. How many of you came from a family or community that pretty much communicated avoidance when it came to film? Okay, a few. Okay, how many of you would say more caution? All right. Dialogue? Okay. Couple of dialogue. Appropriation. Divine encounter. Okay. You check out very closely to my students. I don't know if that's good or bad. It's just an observation. But like I said, those on the far side, appropriation and divine encounter, are more uncommon and also harder to understand. And I'll just say this for myself. I think I grew up sort of caution, maybe dialogue somewhere right in there. And really, since I've been teaching this class, I've moved farther towards appropriation and divine encounter. Now some qualifications. It's possible to take more than one stance, and and maybe it's even appropriate to take more than one stance depending on what film you're talking about. There might be some films that really you should just avoid. I have a friend who, a former colleague, who she would just not watch Holocaust films. She says she knew the Holocaust, she understood the Holocaust, but if she watched a Holocaust film, she said, I'm so sensitive that I would just be 3 or 4 days. Depressed for 3 or 4 days afterwards. And she said, I can't do that over and over again. And so and so for her, okay, there's an example of that. And we can think of other examples, pornography or whatever, that okay, these things are best avoided. But there may be films, even quote-unquote secular films, where you could have some sort of encounter with God in the midst of it in a way that you haven't had before. Just throwing that out there as a possibility. The other thing is that the two poles, if we here's another, I don't know if this chart helps you or not, but it can also be seen as moving from, on the left here, where you think of films primarily in ethical terms. Does it have sinful? What's its message? Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it showing something that's good about the world? Or all the way over to the other end, where you're looking at it primarily as aesthetics. This is a question of an artistic expression of something in the world. And some things in the world are very painful and fallen and broken, and so sometimes you're going to have, but to understand those, sometimes you need sort of aesthetic kind of, sometimes an aesthetic approach can hit you more deeply than something else. Like, I don't know, Pablo Picasso's Guernica painting about bombing and the horrors of this big, huge, gray, black and white abstract painting that was done in the wake of the Spanish Civil War. The agony of that whole thing. All right, but most likely we come from a moral stance first. Okay, that's understandable. Let's think about aesthetics a little bit. And to think about aesthetics, we're going to watch a film, which otherwise is known as a commercial, that's 1 minute long. And there are, this is the purpose I want. Part of what we have to do is learn how to kind of read a film, not just take it in like entertainment. Although when we're taking it in entertainment, we're taking in a lot that we don't even realize. But to look at a film and think about what the film is actually doing. And if you practice, okay, so we're going to practice that. And we're going to do this through a commercial. This is a car for Chrysler. It's about 15 years old. There's the main person in it is a football player, and Damakong Su, if that means anything to you, who was a football player who I guess just retired, but he used to play for the Detroit Tigers and Detroit Lions. Sorry, I'm getting my baseball and football thrown off here. And then Tampa Bay, I don't know, Miami, and so forth. First of all, I'll just show you the commercial. It's 60 seconds. We can do that. Here's the...
Humble beginnings are true beginnings. They're character-building beginnings. They're hard work ethic beginnings. They're appreciate what you've earned beginnings. They are the purest way to gauge success. Maybe the only way to gauge success. But the most powerful thing about humble beginnings is that they are humbling. Show where you're going without forgetting where you're from.
Okay, that's the commercial. Whoops, stop. Can I pause this? Yeah, I know I can do this. I can go back to this. I can do that to pause it. Yeah, that's good. All right. So, I'm going to show it again. All right, now you have something to do. Just notice something. That's all you have to do. Just notice something. And then I'm going to ask you, what do you see? It can be anything that you see because in a commercial like this, there's lots of things that are in there, and they're all in there for a reason. So just notice something. It can be something you see, or it could be something you hear. Except I'm going to rule out the voiceover and the words he said, because as Presbyterians we know about words, and that's easy for us. But I want us to think about other sort of sounds besides the voice hour, or just something you see. And without commentary, without analysis, just something that's in there that you see. And I'm going to go around, I'm going to ask people, what do you notice?
Humble beginnings are true beginnings. They're character-building beginnings. They're hard work ethic beginnings. They're appreciate what you've earned beginnings. They are the purest way to gauge success. Maybe the only way to gauge success. But the most powerful thing about humble beginnings is that they are humbling. Show where you're going without forgetting where you're from.
Okay. So, let's start with this table back here. Something you see or hear?
One thing I noticed, even on the first watch, was the children who were playing, who stopped to stare
Yes.
at this vehicle driving.
Children.
It caught their attention.
Yes. Oh, now we're getting into analysis, which is fine, which is good. But for now, I'm just going to say, notice something we see. Children playing football players, stopping and staring. Good. Something else from this table?
I noticed early on a couple of buildings,
Yes.
a tavern, and I wonder what.
Oh, several things. A church, a tavern. Good. Anything else? A barber shop. How about this table?
The last thing they said, show where you're going, not where you're from. And it's leading you, if you have this Chrysler, it's showing you that
Okay. And now we're getting into analysis, which is good. See, you guys, you already are jumping. You're already wanting to do the film studies thing, which is good. But we'll just say you've got the voiceover and the car. The car, right? The car is the star of the show, actually, right? That's the main character in this. You think it's Ndama Kong Su. It's not really Ndama Kong Su. The car is the main character. Okay, other things you see? Inner city. Good. How about something specific that lets you know it's the inner city? Looks like steel mill. Colors matter here too, right? It's kind of gray in sort of some of the buildings and the weather and so forth. Yes. Graffiti on the side of the wall. Good. How about other things over here?
I saw a picture of chaos to bar to church.
Okay. What was the first one?
Chaos, the picture of the scrambling, the graffiti was
Okay. Oh. You're all embedding analysis into what you're doing. Very clever. That's good. Yes. A church and a bar. Okay. Other things? Tunnel. Going in a tunnel. Good. And what? A bridge. And across a bridge. Yeah. Yes. And on the light, was it on anything reflecting specifically? Oh, especially the car. The windows on the car, I think, is and the kind of the rain on the car, it glistens. Yeah. Trophies. Yes.
it showed you from being a band member out there to a football hero.
Yep. And we're getting into analysis again, but you've got this sense that yes, you've got the football player as a key part of the thing. And
his love to his wife.
I'm sorry? Oh,
His love to his wife.
to his which I think actually is his mother, is how I took it. But yes, at the very end, her presence is a key part of the commercial also. Yes. Okay. Now, because my students are this way too, you're chomping at the bit. I'm going to show it again. Okay? And this time, either something you talked about that you saw or you heard, or something new. And this time, a particular kind of analysis. Just either how it makes you feel or what sort of connotations does it have for you? What does it make you think of? Just one thing. Just one thing. I'm going to limit it. How does it make you? How does it make you feel? And or what does it make you think about? What is it? What sort of connections and connotations do you have with what you see there? Okay.
Humble beginnings are true beginnings. They're character-building beginnings. They're hard work ethic beginnings. They're appreciate what you've earned beginnings. They are the purest way to gauge success. Maybe the only way to gauge success. But the most powerful thing about humble beginnings is that they are humbling. Show where you're going without forgetting where you're from.
Okay. Something you saw or heard. Ken.
Well, it played it totally into the correlation between material success and things. That to be successful, you had to have things, stuff, especially.
Yeah. And what did you see that specifically through that made that connotation for you?
His mother congratulated him and he showed up in the
Okay. Yes. Okay. So the mother congratulating him at the end, right? Especially in the context of everything else. Good. Other things, just something you saw and what it made you think about or feel.
I didn't see a Model T.
Did not feel Model T. No.
Beginning wasn't there.
No. Not the humble. Model T was not the humble beginnings. What did you feel in terms of the automobile?
A choice.
The what?
A choice.
A choice.
He made the choice.
Oh, like there's something about that car that implies some sort of choice on his part or series of choices.
He made the choice when leaving his humble beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the conclusion you got, but there's something that led you to, there's something in the commercial that wants you, especially, to make that connection, right? And I think the car itself maybe makes that connection. I'm guessing, but is that what you're thinking, or I'm putting words in your mouth? Is there something else that makes you make that connection?
I just think it came to the point that he chose that, and they're trying to encourage you to choose
Yes. Yeah.
for a reason, because if you choose the car,
Yeah.
you become successful.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? All that's embedded in the commercial. And, okay, yes, the choice. Other things you saw or heard? Yeah,
I totally didn't get it about the car and the choice at all. I see him coming up toward the house, serious look on his face, and then when he sees his mother, big smile and hug. And to me, it's only about the relationship there.
Okay.
My mindset.
So this is good. This is interesting. Okay. So now the smile, he's pretty stern. The whole commercial sees his mother and he breaks out into the smile. And now we've got this question of a relationship. And so we see different things. We have some complexity in how we're understanding a commercial. Amazing. Yes.
I agree with her. At the very end, I felt happy because no matter how successful you are, you're so happy to see your mom come back home.
Okay. Okay.
Male, female thing, I don't know.
Okay. And there's Okay, same thing. All right, good. Okay, so this is a conclusion you get. He's not forgetting where he's from. That's the message at the end. But it's more than the voiceover, right? That makes us think this. There are other things in the commercial. What else do you see that makes you think he has humble beginnings? Yes?
Yeah, it's the whole landscape.
The whole landscape, such as?
He came from Detroit, a nasty area, but
Yeah.
he's returning.
Yeah, and so what seems nasty in well, one thing we said, like graffiti. Graffiti has connotations for us, right? Like this has connotations to, kind of a rougher area, maybe crime, might be part of that, or poverty, or difficult sort of things. That's connotations we often have with graffiti, just to throw that in. Good. Nothing good comes out of Jerusalem. Or Nazareth, yes. Or Detroit. Yeah. Something else you see or hear.
Again, to me, it's about relationships. I was seeing pictures of him as a child.
Yeah, pictures.
His history is there.
Yes, his history's there. Little with the trophy. There's a picture of him in the football gear. Yeah. Anything else you see or hear?
You know what I did not like about the movie
Yeah.
is it's all about status.
Well, okay.
No idea if it's a car or bad car.
Oh, well, no, it's a commercial. They just want you to buy the car. And it's for status. Yeah. So that's in there also. Does Chrysler represent success? And now we're to the point where now we're thinking, are these the things we should be taking away from this commercial? The odd thing is, no, let me do this. Before we dive in any more into that question, I want to point out that there are aesthetics to this commercial. I taught about consumerism back in the spring, and I was fairly critical, but I want to say this in a positive light, that this commercial does some things aesthetically very well. And to help us understand that this does things very well aesthetically, I'm going to show you another car commercial where the aesthetics are limited. Let's just put it that way. Fred Martin, I'm sure he's a wonderful guy, but okay, here we go. Oh, YouTube don't have a...
Score big savings at Fred Martin Superstore. Get more for your trade. We'll send your vehicle to 1,000 dealers to get you the max trade value. Trade it or sell it. Drive it in today. We'll make you an offer on the spot. Get paid today. Your ride's worth more at Fred Martin Superstore.
All right. Now, Fred Martin, I don't mean to come down hard on Fred Martin. I love him in the Lord. I don't know him, personally. I don't know if he's a member of this church. I don't know anything. But he does have some other commercials that are a little more aesthetic. There's not much aesthetics there, is there? It's just kind of information. If you think about the Chrysler commercial in comparison to that, okay, granted, the Chrysler commercial is not Michelangelo or Shakespeare. Okay, it's not high art, but there are aesthetic aspects to it. It puts things together really pretty compelling. And okay, what you are already doing is you have 60 seconds of all these visuals, some music. By the way, we didn't talk about the music in the background. Dun, dun, dun. Yes, it's got a rhythm to it. My connotation is you're going somewhere in that kind of music. Images, background, all that sort of stuff, and we put this together, and we have a story. You're already telling us either has a story or a message. It's doing something. Obviously, it wants you to buy the car, but it doesn't just say buy this car. That's what Fred Martin is saying. It's tying it into all sorts of other things. So there's the issues of success, but there's also the relationship with his mother, right? And is it a bad thing if somebody works hard and is able to rise up out of poor conditions?
It makes you feel
Yes, it does.
The other one is you run and quickly press,
Yeah.
so you never hear that again.
Yeah.
You'll never know that part of it.
There is a difference. There is a, you know, it does make you feel something. And you know what? I can say, I've taught this class, I think probably 15 times. And every time I teach the class, this is how we open it up. We start with this commercial, and I show it, 3 times, 4 times, something like that in the class. And you know what? I actually do not get tired of it. Fred Martin, I think I would be tired. I'm tired already of Fred Martin. Poor guy. I mean, like I said, I love him in the Lord. Fine, you're doing something. But to me, if you hear something over and over again, or you see something over and over again, and you're still able to stay, that shows that I think there's some sort of depth to it in some way, even in a commercial.
Is it because the first guy was doing it to show that he's come up the line, but Fred is saying, hey, buy it because of you. You deserve more. The first one was not about him so much, there's two completely different reasons for buying a car.
You mean that because the Chrysler commercial with the Namakang Su has this sense of you have done good work, and therefore maybe you deserve a car, which is questionable theology, but still there's because there's that story. Okay, and this is what you all are getting to. There's a story in the Chrysler commercial. There's a story there. There's not much of a story with Fred Martin, but there's a story here, and that's a type of aesthetic also. And there's something deeply significant about stories when you get right down to it. I mean, there are a lot of stories in the Bible, of course, and we, as the old hymn, I love to tell the story of unseen things above. I mean, there's something about our faith that is deep into a story also. So here's another odd question for you. While we are watching that Chrysler commercial, and watching it several different times, God was present with us, of course, because that is God. God is always present. What was God doing?
Wanting a Chrysler?
He was doing what with a Chrysler?
Wanting one?
Was God wanting a Chrysler? No, I mean, not in the commercial, but I mean among us. What was God doing? What? Okay, so he's watching us. Yes. Is he doing anything else? Not happy with us?
How can you not love your mother?
Okay. Well, wait a minute. That's about the Chrysler. Is God unhappy because I'm showing this commercial on Sunday morning?
Why you're buying it?
Oh, why am I? I'm not buying a Chrysler. I'm just showing you the ad. But as you're watching, are you, I can put words in your mouth. Are you kind of saying, God is telling you you should not put your hopes in material items for your happiness and joy in life? I mean, I think that's fair. No, I think that's true. That God can be telling us, okay, this is attractive, not the key to everything. Pardon? It is not, maybe it's not good for you. All right. Anything else?
This is exactly why we buy cars.
Yeah. Although in our society, you kind of have to buy a car just to be able to get around decently. Sometimes there's a practical aspect to it. But there is, how about that final scene when he meets his mother? He's happy. Is there something good there?
Thankful for her support.
It seems like he's thankful for her support.
Be careful what you're watching and why they're showing it to you.
Okay, so you see this as maybe a little bit of manipulation? Yeah, that they're using this to get you to buy the car. Yeah, quite possible.
What about the word humble?
What about the word humble? Oh, that's a great point. Humble beginnings.
But maybe he was still humble in his own way at the end.
Was he maybe still humble in his own way? Because he comes back to see, hey, let's face it, if a celebrity football player is going back home to see his mom, that's a good thing. Actually, if anybody is going back to see, I was listening to an old gospel song the other day. Early Caesar, who sang black gospel in the 70s and 80s, has a song about mothers. When's the last time you saw your mother? I mean, she's preaching. She's singing this gospel song. Have you called your mother? Have you visited your mother? There's something, right? There are a lot of people out there that are not.
Could we substitute your mother for God?
Maybe. You could maybe put God in there. When's the last time you went back, to see your God? Brenna.
Going back a minute to the word manipulation, isn't the nature of all commercials manipulation?
That's a good question. I think I would tend to think maybe so is the nature of all commercials to manipulate. They're at least trying, yeah, I don't know, maybe so. I think there might be a level, commercials I like. I like the Allstate commercial that encourages you to be a safe driver. Now, yeah, they're trying to sell you insurance. We'll give you a discount. They have the Morgan Freeman knockoff with the deep voice. At Allstate, anyway, I think it's good to encourage people to be safe drivers. But let me suggest this. Could it be that this is a mix? Even though overall the story, and I think this is appropriate, the story, it's a commercial. They're trying to get you to buy a car, and they're playing on your emotions. But aren't there also part that they can manipulate us is because we want, part of what we don't want just bad things. There are some good things we want and we value. Like going back home to see your mother. Like working hard. And what?
I said my mother's dead.
Oh, well, okay. Or your kids should come back to see you or something like that. Yeah. Also, though, and I think there are some admirable aesthetics in here. I mean, this is in some ways a beautiful commercial. Let me go back to my consumerism section. I can apply, you remember what is this? This is the automatic garage door opener. Remember I don't remember the auto, I bought a house, I was happy for my automatic garage door opener because I should be thankful for this. The same could be true with the Chrysler. I could use that principle. Yes, there's a line at the end, show where you're going, which is about pride and vainglory. Let's, bring attention to myself, which is a sin. But there's also something of, can I be thankful that I am in a time and place where we live amidst prosperity, and I can appreciate having a car, and also maybe the beauty of a car, and say, I'm in a place where God has enabled me to have that. I can be thankful for that. Is that appropriate? And separate out, but I should not use this as a means of status or thinking that this is the solution to my happiness or my joy in some way.
You can help other people. You can use the car to help other people.
You can use the car for other purposes, yes. Give people rides or yes, take people to church or something like that.
I thought it was interesting that they could use those visions and assume that we understood and bought those as our culture. I'm not sure we can do that.
Well, that's true. It could be that the power of and what we're getting to here is the American dream, right? That the power in our culture of wanting to to accomplish all this? Is it possible to do what? To appreciate it correctly or to? Oh, I see. Yeah. Have we oversold that sense that people can rise up out of poverty? Yeah. And that's a good question that's another big question about whether the American dream today exists like it did 40 or 50 years ago. Yeah. 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 All right. We just spent a lot of times talking about 60 minutes of a film clip. We could go on. I know we could. Imagine if you're watching a movie that's an hour and 40 minutes. You actually can spend quite a bit of time thinking about what is going on, talking about what is good and bad, or what it's doing and what it's drawing on, and so forth. It's great to hear all kinds of different perspectives. That's part of the value of a discussion class in many ways. Just thinking ahead to next week when we're going to talk about It's a Wonderful Life, if you want a little background, we need to put it in historical context. This movie came out in 1946, right after World War II ended. And I think it's helpful, I'm a historian, so I think this way, to think about what the original viewers were thinking as they're watching this film. And part of it is because part of what it does in the film is it follows the life of the character George Bailey, played by Jimmy Stewart, going through a number of things that a lot of other people at that time went through. And that's part of the context. It gives it a little more oomph, a little more power to the story when you put it in that, right? So the character George Bailey would have been born in 1907. He would have experienced, in the movie, when he's young, he experiences, the 1920s prosperity when he's doing the dance and first meets the Donna Reed character, Mary, and they sing Buffalo Gals and so forth. Everything is going well. Then the Depression hits. You have this long depression. A lot of George's life and the film takes place in the midst of this depression as he's trying to hold on to this building and loan when things are really, really tough economically. There's a very short segment where he lived through World War II and the difficulties with that. And then the film itself actually starts and then takes us back to the current moment, Christmas 1946, after all of that is over. And I think it's important to realize that a lot of these same issues that we're getting at, like what does provide satisfaction and goodness in this life, those questions are embedded in the film also. Questions of, will the American dream deliver? Or is maybe our attention needs to be directed somewhere else besides the American dream? Or maybe the American dream is a part of that. I don't know. That's all part of there. And the people watching that movie when it first came out would have experienced all those sort of wider cultural shifts that take place in the movie when it goes over George Bailey's life. So, one way you can think about this between now and next week, or if you watch the film, to think about the film. I'm going to, in this class, use three terms that are not exactly the same. One of them is the good life. I think everybody wants a good life. Everybody wants a good life. The problem is, it's very hard to define what and determine what really is a good life. What is the good life? We get all kinds of messages about what the good life is. I mean, it existed in that 60-second commercial, as many of you implied. One answer to the good life is the American dream. The American dream is the good life if you achieve the American dream. But of course, as Christians, we say the good life, one way to think about it is, are we promoting the kingdom of God? So, the good life, the American dream, the kingdom of God, Do they intersect? Are they opposed to each other? Do they overlap? We're gonna think about this in various sort of ways. So, how do you think the film is defining the good life? To what extent does it fit with the American dream? To what extent does the story fit with the kingdom of God? And, you know, your answer to any of these could be a lot or very little. That's part of why we talk about these things. So, that's what we have for next week. If you have a chance to watch that film, It's a Wonderful Life, do so. By the way, if you're going to watch it again, I would recommend getting the black and white version. They colorized it, which a lot of people like because it seems more appealing, but visually, it was shot in black and white, and the director, in looking at lightings, we've talked about light briefly here, and we're going to look at that, had black and white film in mind, because that's what he was working with. And there are some things that come out better in black and white than in color. So anyway, I tell my students, I prefer the black and white. And we'll talk about these themes. So, there we are. I need to run off to choir. So, close there. May the Lord show his steadfast love and faithfulness to you this week. Thank you very much.